right, logs number 2. Log number 2, we talked yesterday about its function being log b of x, and its inverse and the inverse is b of y, because if that kicks up, this is a y value. B of x doesn't really matter, I guess what we call it. Alright, logs, inverses. In order to prove inverses, we have to do a composite, and we're going to actually come up with a couple new properties. To prove inverses, we do composites. That means we're going to do, let's call one of these G and F. So let's call this one G. We're going to do F of G of X, and then we're going to do G of F of X. A composite. We're going to put the G equation into the F equation. So we're going to put G into F. So that's log base B, and then we're going to replace X with B of X. And what happens when we have the base of the log and the base of the exponent being the same? They basically cancel each other out, leaving X. Over here, G of F of X says I'm going to put F into G. So I'm going to put F into G. So B, and then I'm going to put F into that. So I get log base B of X. The base of the exponent and the base of the log are the same. They basically cancel each other out, leaving the X. These are two new properties. They also work with natural log. But basically it says if I have a base and the base of the same, base of the log, base of the exponent are the same, they're going to cancel, leaving just the exponent. Base of the exponent, base of the log, cancel, and leave what's left standing. Those are two new properties. So now we have 4 of them. 2 from yesterday, and then here's 2 more for today. So if I have 10 log 2, what would be its simplified value? Well, if you don't see a base, the base is implied to be 10. Therefore, base and base are alike, leaves 2. Log base 3 of 9x. Now be careful with this one, because the base and base aren't alike. However, I can make it alike. 9 is really 3 squared, and then power to power gives me 2x. This is going to be a very key thing to logs and exponents, being able to make alike bases. Now the base of the log and the base of the exponent are the same, leaving 2x. Alright, so up here we proved inverses. When we do composites, we're going to get an x value. The second part of this is being able to find inverses. Now this is different than proving. If I'm proving, I'm already given 2 things and I need to put one into the other and come up with an x value. If I'm asked to find an inverse, that means I've been given an equation, but I don't know the other one. I need to find what that other one would be. And it goes through a very precision step process, which is to first interchange or switch x and y. So this becomes x and that becomes y. Step 2 is solve for the new y. And the way that we do this is we're going to, if it's a log form, remember if we're doing inverses. So if it's a log, inverse means to put it as an exponent. And if I started with an exponent, inverse would mean I'm changing it to a log. So when I'm solving, what I'm really doing is changing to exponent form because it's currently in log form. So the 3 kicks up, the word log goes away, and the y is left standing. So there we go. Log, inverse, exponent. All right, let's try a natural log because a natural log is done the same way, but let's look at it anyways. Here we have y equals natural log x plus 1. The very first thing we're going to do is interchange our x and our y. And now we need to change it to an exponential. So the e is going to kick up. And solve for the y means to subtract the 1. And there you go. That is changing from one form to another. It's possible some of them are going to look kind of ugly. Let me show you one here. I have y equals the natural log of 2 to the x. So in this case, when I switch my x and y, in order to get to this y, I have to change it. So the e kicks up. E to the x is 2 to the y. I cannot isolate this without changing it back. So we don't want to do that. We just want to leave it in this format, and this will be okay. So even though it's kind of ugly and it's not just y equals, this is a true inverse, and we will leave it in that format. So there's logs number 2.